Are you looking ways how you can build an effective cybersecurity operations center? Are you on a journey in building or acquiring your security operations center and want to improve your knowledge and see how you can measure the effectiveness of your security operations center, how you can advance to make sure that the SOC aligns to relevant threats? Then this video is for you. Or maybe even you are on a journey into cybersecurity and maybe you are looking to land a role as a SOC engineer, as a SOC analyst, and you want to learn more about MITRE ATT&CK, you learn more about why security operations centers are important to organizations and how you can improve its effectiveness. So we're going to explore some myth busting jargons in this video. We're going to cover some of the important aspects, how current security operations centers are failing and how they are not detecting breaches nowadays. So we're going to explore some interesting themes and topics in this video, and hopefully you'll find this very helpful, and hopefully you can improve your organization's SOC. So let's start at the right of the beginning. So first of all, what is security operations center? So security operations center is the heart of your organization. Essentially, that's where it detects all of the potential threats. It detects all of the incidents with the organization. So as you can think of it, it's sort of your command center for all of your defenses. That's where all of your logs are ingested. That's where threat intelligence comes in. So that's probably one of the most important aspects of your cyber defense in terms of protecting against threats. So what is MITRE ATT&CK? So MITRE ATT&CK has been released. It's been over 10 years now. So MITRE ATT&CK, essentially, as you can see on your right, is a pyramid of pain. So if we reverse back a number of years ago, your normal antivirus protection or your normal threat detection was mainly covered around IOCs. So things like hash values, threat IP addresses, malware, domain names, network, host artifacts. All of these have become trivial or easy for threat actors to change because it's a simple thing, hash value. If you take any malware and you change one symbol without in this whole long list of code in the malware, then that will produce a whole completely different hash value. So that malware can be changed very easily and can very easily bypass your anti-malware. Same as IP addresses. So we needed a way to move up the pyramid of pain towards the top, where you can see tactics, techniques, and procedures. So that's how MITRE ATT&CK has been developed. Is essentially we can track the threat actors, their tactics, their techniques, and their procedures that they would use in order to gain an advantage or in order to achieve their goal. So it talks about how we need to move away from legacy security operation centers and into the new ways of working. It also it's if your goal is to build essentially threat informed SOC, the MITRE ATT&CK should be your friend. I often talk now with cybersecurity leaders how they are on the journey of either building or outsourcing their security operations center, and how it becomes very difficult to manage to make sure that the SOC, first of all, is built to make sure to align to their organization threats, make sure it's built to their threat sophistication level and to the investment that they want to invest into that SOC, make sure that it addresses based to the level of threat or level of risk that organization wants to take forward. So all of these examples are really important to address, and then we need to think about how we measure the effectiveness of our SOC, how we inbuild automation to make sure that we reduce the burnout of our analysts and make sure we constantly maturing it. Because usually when you start onboarding the third party, it's point in time assessment, which usually becomes out of date very quickly as threats evolve, as your environment changes. So, to keep up with the maturity and threats, SOC needs to continuously evolve and change. So that's the main goal, I guess, and how we need to evaluate and address in our SOC build out. And common problem I see, another one is that whenever organizations think about outsourcing SOC, it's not something that you just purchase and forget. It's and especially it's when organizations decide that everything's going to be outsourced. You can't outsource all of the security operations. You need to have at least, one or two analysts internally to deliver business context, to drive the SOC maturity, and to create that, both way communication to make sure that SOC is improving over time. Now, the aims and objectives of our, SOC build out is making sure, and especially when we align to MITRE ATT&CK, we can do threat relevancy on time. So make sure that, we are designing our SOC that is threat relevant and on time. We can make sure that data ingestion in our security incident and event management is based on relevancy. So one thing as well that sometimes organizations that forget, it's very easy nowadays because organizations moving into cloud and all of our security incident and event management platforms are sitting in the cloud, but we need to pay for the data ingestion. So making sure the data ingestion aligns to the use cases and we are ingesting only enough data to detect relevant threats is very important because the costs can spiral out of control very easily. Secondly, we need to make sure that our analytic rules detect threat that's organization, track threats. We need to make sure that it's aligned and combined. We need to make sure that our defensive posture is aligned to relevant threats. We need to make sure that continuous maturity of the SOC posture is continuously evolving. We also need to make sure as well. So there's a two-pronged approach, and when I talk about the framework itself, is that we need to make sure that we are creating threat-aligned security program as well. We need to make sure that we are leveraging deception technology when we reach a certain maturity for the threat intelligence gathering, and also we need to make sure that it's meeting client requirements, it's ours requirements, or whether we are helping someone in meeting their requirements. So that's the main aims and objectives. Now the framework itself, so as you can see, the framework is a continuous cycle of continuous improvement, and I guess that's the key point, is it's SOC never stops improving, and as you can see, we starting first of all is we gathering threat intelligence. So that's the first point. We need to gather threat intelligence, relevant threat intelligence to our organization based on our geopolitical situation, based on our industry, based on the scope, and based on the location of our business and territories that we participate in. Then we can map the threat intelligence and deception technology output to the relevant tactics, techniques, and procedures in the attack matrix. Then all of these TTPs can be mapped to the data sources and data components. We then can build analytics to detect those tactics, techniques, and procedures based on those data components. And then, as I said, that's where it becomes a two-pronged approach. So when we based on threat intelligence, when we detect specific TTPs, based on the time, most of the time we want to straight away start detecting them. But because of the risk some of them poses, we don't want just blindly detecting them. We also want to inbuild in our security program how we're going to defend against them and prevent them from threat actors from exploiting those specific TTPs. So another output goes into our defense or cyber defense program, how we can build and enhance our defenses based on risk quantification to evaluate those mitigations. And then also that's where it becomes, the business context information for threat intelligence gathering. So again, depending how our business is changing, how we are expanding into new industries, into new territories, how does that threat intelligence gathering change, and what information we need to push towards our SOC to make sure that it aligns to our specific threats and to specific threat sophistication as well. Don't forget, when business matures and grows, and we expand into various industries and become more prominent, we might need to rethink, are we going past the script kiddies and we need to build better defenses against cybercrime? Maybe we're not going to push against, state nation threat actors, but maybe we're going to work towards, cybercrime gangs. Maybe we're going to work past script kiddies, and how our cybersecurity program involve in maturing that SOC. So that's a very important aspect in addressing that. Now, when we start, the framework built is essentially built to client specification. So what we start to do is we can start extracting TTPs into a CSV format. And then the key point is everything is based on relevancy and based on timings. So we can list those TTPs based on number of matches. And I'll explore and I cover in the next few slides what do we mean by based on matches, and basically we can map TTPs to the data sources and data components, and also we can create analytic rules, we can apply automation to incident triage, and we can deploy deception technologies to gather intelligence based on the client's environment. And we'll cover all of this with some of the examples, and then if you guys need and want more help, there's a few other videos as well where I actually showcase how to use MITRE Navigator to actually map those TTPs and actually map the threat actors. You can map the specific malware groups, ransomware groups as well to specific TTPs. We'll explore some of the tools as well as some of the other repositories that MITRE has developed in order for you to get the most out of your MITRE attack. So if we start gathering threat intelligence, and I'll just cover basically one example in this video, and that's what we'll focus on. So let's say we pick 7 threat actor groups. So we have Conti, which is essentially does ransomware as a service group. We have Paisa, which is another ransomware group. We'll cover Logbit, double extortion ransomware group. Is Sodinokibi, which is another ransomware group using sophisticated techniques. We've got Fin7, also known as Carbonac, which is international cyber criminal group. We got Lazarus, which is a group sponsored by the North Korean government, and then we got TA505 cybercrime group using custom malware and info stealers. So let's say we are a business that works in Europe, and we work in finance sector. So let's say we think that those 7 threat actor groups are the most prominent threat actor groups that currently are exploring financial organizations in our region. So if we start mapping those threat actor groups to the MITRE attack, it might look something like this. So this is basically leveraging MITRE Attack Navigator. We mapped all of the 7 threat actor groups. And as you can see, we got legend based from 1 to 6. So basically, the closer it aligns to color red, the more matches between the threat actor groups we have. So basically, how many threat actors use the same tactic, technique, or procedure? So as you can see, there's a few of them that have 6. So basically, out of the 7 threat actor groups, 6 of them use the same TTP. So obviously, if we export it into CSV, and as you can see, obviously this is it's quite small, it's hard to see because there's so many TTPs. But as you can see at the top, we got data encryption for impact. It has 6 matches. So out of the 7 threat actor groups, 6 of them will use that TTP. Now, okay, so obviously this becomes the most important TTP for us, first of all, to detect in our SOC, and then think about how we can build our defenses to protect against threat actors exploiting that technique. So let's explore this first of all technique first. So if you go to MITRE ATT&CK website, obviously that's how normally technique looks like. So as you can see, there is an explanation. So adversaries might encrypt data on target systems, on large systems, and networks, and interrupt basically availability to systems and network resources. So they might encrypt your data and then essentially prevent you from accessing that data. So as you can see on the bottom, there is a data sources and data components of how we can actually detect threat actors from using that TTP. So as you can see, you can have cloud storage, and then we're detecting cloud storage modification. We got command and then command execution. We got file creation, file modification. We got network share access, as well as process creation. So now if we think about, we got a TTP that's very relevant, then we also need to look at data components and data sources to make sure that we are collecting specific relevant logs in our security incident and event management platform. And then on top of it, we need to think about, okay, so we got the logs relevant for these components. How now we're going to create analytics to detect and fire alerts and incidents in our SOC. Then we look at things. So as I said, we use MITRE Navigator to do the mapping. And then we can explore another repository, which is another very helpfully built repository by MITRE, which is called MITRE CAR, so Cyber Analytics Repository. So as you can see in here, we can actually get methodologies, we get explanations. So there is for example here, an example I used is credential dumping via Mimikatz. So loads of us know there's a Mimikatz, a specific tool that threat actors use which can steal credentials. So as you can see, there are specific patterns underneath used in, as you can see, there's examples in Sysmon and Splunk how to detect those events and basically how we can build analytics. As you can see on the right as well, there is a credential dumping. So basically it's showcased how you can build analytics in your network intrusion detection systems, in LSAS memory, as well as security account message, which is basically your SAM. So you have a few ways and a few examples and helpful ways as well on your way to actually detecting specific analytics based on MITRE CAR. So you can explore again, in your own time, see how you can see if you can find any specific examples that maybe you have some specific use cases that you can explore. So it's a really helpful repository that MITRE built in order to leverage and detect specific TTPs from MITRE ATT&CK. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is a strand. So obviously, first of all we want to detect, but then also we want to defend. So MITRE DEFEND, which essentially is another piece of repository that MITRE developed, it allows to harden, detect, isolate, deceive, and evict, as well as restore steps in MITRE ATT&CK technique mapping. So basically what you can do is you can do a few things. So you can think and explore how you can harden your defenses against specific threats, how you can detect, how you can isolate your threats from the rest of your environment, how you can deceive and build deception technologies, which is another part of the maturity journey, and how also you can evict as well as restore your cyber defenses. So again, there's a great repository and which covers all of your defensive techniques against cyber threats. And again, you can map your defensive maturity to specific techniques in that repository, and hopefully advance your security operations against relevant threats. So if we explore kind of a few things so far, so SOC, it's very important, timely and relevant threat intelligence that you can gather specific threats and threat sophistication, which then you can essentially map to specific techniques, and you can build very specific use cases for your SOC development. So specifically making sure that data flows that in your SIEM, which is relevant, making sure that you are, also saving costs on data ingestion. You're making sure that you are building relevant use cases and relevant detections for threats in your environments, as well as you are advancing and improving your cyber defense program, how you can defend, deceive, and evict those specific threats. Now, as I mentioned, I kind of touched a bit on deception technology. So when you go through that continuous maturity cycle, you will come across deception technologies. And that's another very important aspect, because usually what happens is when you're gathering threat intelligence out of threat intelligence platforms, or you're doing your own research, usually you gain quite generic threat intelligence, or you need to input a lot of work to actually narrow down to your specific industry, to your specific business, but it's still not 100% targeted to your business. Now, when you reach a certain level of maturity, you can start advancing and building deception traps for your threat actors, creating honey admin accounts, honey tokens, honey, canary tokens. There is a famous, company that uses specific these. You can create honey VPN and RDP accounts. You can even create proper honey replica applications, replica virtual machines, honey pots that actually will gather threat specific information only based on your environment and your business, because all of these honey tools will sit within your environment. So obviously they will inform the specific threats that are interested in your environment. Obviously, aside from the generic reverse honey scanners around the network which gather information, but you can also explore the type of usernames and passwords they're trying, the types of CVEs they're trying to exploit, which actually helps quite a lot, because you can actually witness and see in action what threat actors are currently doing live essentially in your similar environments, so you can then inform how you need to essentially address and improve your cyber defense moving forward. So again, it all comes with maturity. You can start with somewhere based on the technology they use. For example, those of us like myself who are exploring or who are working with, being the Microsoft house, Defender for Endpoint or Defender for Cloud has some of those tools that you can start using. It can create a deception admin accounts, and obviously you can create specific triggers and specific incidents, because obviously these accounts should never be touched. So someone's touching those accounts obviously will create alarm bells. So it's a very great way. And also, Microsoft security exploration is a whole another heap of subjects. So again, those of you if you are decided to build your security operations center or actually start leveraging E5 security and want to find out more, please do reach out. I've been working with Microsoft security for a number of years, because I know a lot of people struggling to actually leveraging all of the E5 security capabilities. And I've done, before webinars and sharing ideas with people, how do you, resolve your and reduce attack surface? How do you leverage, your app protection policies, device protection policies? The E5 configurations are limitless, because you have configurations in Active Directory or Entra system. Now you have Defender for Identity, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Cloud. You have Intune device specific policy deployments like app protection plans, firewalls. You have the actual Defender for Endpoint configurations in Defender portal. There's so many things that people are not aware how to fine tune your anti-phishing policies. There's so many things. So obviously it takes a lot of expertise and a lot of learning to actually understand intricately where should you create focus and what you should improve first. Those of us as well who want to explore, there is a great document in Ireland published by NCSC that actually groups specific Microsoft security controls based on their maturity. So you can actually plan the maturity levels and which controls you should publish at which maturity. So if you're starting out, there is a specific number of controls at 0 maturity level. So obviously those who will yield the biggest amount of benefit, and that's where you should start your journey. So something to explore is a great tool and great way to actually enhance and start that journey, and actually leveraging and showcasing the Microsoft security power, but also leveraging, making sure that you actually getting benefit for what you're paying. E5 security licenses are not cheap. I constantly as well explore you have to learn and understand how SOC operates, and you have to build and think about its evaluation, because too many times I spoke with organizations that are, purchased SOC services, but actually, if you bring a penetration testing company and they start kicking buckets, or actually trying to exploit your system, and your SOC did not notice anything, it can be very upsetting. Obviously, you signed a contract, outsourced your SOC, and paying extortionate amount of money for this company to monitor your defenses, and they didn't notice anything. So it's about, making sure that you are testing your SOC capabilities, and you need to have a plan about that. As I said, making sure that you have at least 1-2 analysts internally who can actually, help and provide business context and actually push to mature your SOC with an outsourced partner. Because as I said before, it's not something you buy and forget. You need to continuously mature and evaluate that SOC and making sure that it delivers the most value to your organization. Now, and last but not least, we'll explore a bit, how to use that framework efficiently. So, as I said, in the beginning, you want first of all to detect the techniques at the very least. That's where you start. Whenever you build your MITRE ATT&CK navigator, and you do the mapping of the relevant TTPs, you want to start to detect them first. And then you will start including mitigations in your cybersecurity program, so you can use defend tactics to continuously improve your SOC. And it's not only that, you can, there's a few ways you can start improving the SOC, and also low level business context information that's provided. You can also start automating some of the responses between, it's eliminating the need for sort of level 1 SOC type analysts, and you can start actually automating once those 1 or 2 analysts internally can provide business context to your partners, whether it's outsourced SOC partner or whether it's internal. And then you want to, and then the next maturity sort of level is you want to deploy deception to enrich your threat intelligence and actually inform how threats are tried to permeate your networks, your applications, your accounts. And that's really important, aspect when you go on that maturity curve and actually start deploying deception technology. You can gather very relevant and very important information that will inform how the SOC can mature. And then it's continuous cycle. It's not something that you can forget. You continuously evolve and continuously measure and monitor threats. For example, a very simple tool that I often share with my friends, if you're a Microsoft house, or I'm sure there are other ways to do that as well, but if you're Microsoft house and you're using Microsoft Teams, you can build RSS feeds and create a channel, which normally I call threat intelligence, but you can find, say, 20-30 most prominent cybersecurity news sites or news articles, essentially, that you can create an RSS feeds and feed the most up-to-date, the most recent cybersecurity news, whether it's CVE advisories, the new threats that come out. It can be very great, sort of simple way to open Teams in the morning and have the latest articles, the latest information around your cybersecurity world, at your fingertips. So it's a great way to actually, get more information and, instead of searching for somewhere, and, continuously gather that threat intelligence. Also, you can also get, paid service, but it depends on the business size and depends on your budget. Some of the things and some of the threat intelligence platforms can be quite costly. So again, you can explore, things like, there is open source integrations that you can build into your SIEM as well that offer free threat intelligence. So it's again something based, you not necessarily need to go enterprise grade depending on your business size. You can find quite a lot of that stuff free or very cheap. And then, some of the future projects that MITRE is working on, or you can explore as well. So, we mainly focused on, sort of endpoint and very similar MITRE ATT&CK sort of deployment or enterprise level. But you can also, there is mapping now, relevant MITRE ATT&CK for industrial control systems, mapping for mobile devices, mapping specific just to the cloud environments. You also need to think about MITRE is releasing its new iterations. I think the last one was version 14. So obviously, I think every version comes sort of anywhere between 6 to 12 months. So obviously you need to update and do updated mapping. You can also, continuous threat landscape evaluation. There's a great, again, MITRE resource cascade, which allows to, automated blue team investigation. So it allows you to automate some of the blue team activities as well as some of the testing of the controls and use cases. As I mentioned before, cyber analytics repository, and then Caldera. Caldera is a great tool to actually test your SOC effectiveness because it allows automatic adversary emulation. So it allows to emulate. So, for example, we mentioned a few threat actor groups that we discussed in the previous slides. So you can pick one threat actor group, uses TTPs, and then you can essentially automatically build that adversary emulation and try exploit it in your SOC environment and see what SOC can detect and what it can't. And then then it's about finding ways to actually being able to detect where do you need to develop use cases, new analytics. Maybe you're missing some specific log sources, log components that need to bring into your SOC and actually improve your security operations center. So it's a great couple of repositories from MITRE who are continuously doing some great work to evaluate and improve our security operations center, our cyber defense capabilities against those prominent threat actors. So please explore, get the best use out of it. And obviously, if you want any advice, help, again, I'm here to help. And then last but not least, if you have any questions, obviously reach out. I'm always open to answer any questions on my LinkedIn. Also, you can have a look at my other YouTube videos at MP Cybersecurity channel. Also, if you want to collaborate, if you want any help in me providing you the template, helping you improve your security operations center, you can email me on my company email address, mp@mpcybersecurity.co.uk. Also, I've got a blog on my website which you can explore and look at some of the amazing topics that we've been discussing. But I'm here to help. If you are on a journey to build a SOC, to improve a SOC, to acquire a SOC, and need a helping hand, I'm here. If you need me, reach out. My DMs are always open. But hopefully you learn something new about how to improve, how to build SOC, how to use the MITRE ATT&CK frameworks and tools. And if you want to learn more, obviously, I'm here.